Hi, I'm Rachel Goodwin and I'm a channel and healer who loves to teach and empower others. My work is about teaching you how to make a strong and powerful connection with your divinity, your divine spark, soul, higher self, whatever you want to call it, and then bringing that divine power right smack center into the middle of your life so that it mixes and integrates with your everyday life and your everyday self. To me, this is ascension as it creates an overall rising of vibration and is where my path and yours has always been leading. Auheia valeana oe e kahaliko puhakukui kuhia o kaonaia a kahapu kumamoninei Pikoi kahimanaho I kahapili koholuaia Ea ke kaula lo pihana e kohopu kapaliliai Haina mai kapuana e kahaliko puokukui Welcome to the magic with Kitchenwitchcrafts. Today we are with Ix Chel Phoenix. I'm going to read you her bio that she wrote. It's rather lovely. And Ixchel says, after stepping into my I am presence and embracing my soul magic in 2020, I now walk the path of woman, warrior, witch, holistic herbalist, cacao kachina, and medicine woman. Magic is in my blood and has been my embodiment in various expressions over many different lifetimes. My current path is a powerful potion of green witchery, angelic healing, shamanic medicine, and womb wisdom. No funny business, just the reweaving of ancient ways with a relatable modern touch. Life is all about adapting and changing with the times, and so too is magic. Kitchenwitchcrafts is a broomstick ride through the magic of age-old recipes, rituals, lessons, and teachings. I believe that every moment is sacred and that each of us is a living prayer, constantly in communion with the divine. My soul mission is to guide others with the remembrance and reclamation of their very special magic. You are your own sacred space, and life is a ceremony. Love, blessings, and magic. Ix Chel Phoenix. I just love that. So, hope you enjoyed today's episode. Remember to come over to Sacred You podcast Facebook page and drop us a comment what you thought. Anything you'd like to share, and we'll see you next time. Hello everybody, we have another episode of Sacred You today, and I am talking to Ix Chel Phoenix from Kitchenwitchcrafts. That's me saying it wrong there. I just practiced that and it came out so lovely. Kitchenwitchcrafts, there we are. And you're in South Africa, is that right?
Yes, I'm in South Africa, Johannesburg.
Wow, well hello and welcome to the show. Welcome to Sacred You.
Thank you, Rachel. Thanks for having me.
So how are you today? How's the weather?
The weather has been pretty up and down, pretty much like what's happening in our world at the moment. It's very unpredictable. It's been cold, it's been hot, much like myself emotionally as well at the moment, to be honest.
And we have a full moon today, don't we?
Yes, that's why I thought it was beautiful that we're recording on a full blue moon. It's absolutely amazing.
I have to say, it quite often works out that way, that I do recordings on the new moon and the full moon. And I don't even necessarily deliberately make it happen that way, but it just seems to be like these moon energies, they want to be used and that they want to come through on the show, I guess.
Yes, it's divine timing.
So I'm really excited to talk to you today and hear all about your herbs and your witchy work and all of that. But before we get into that, before we jump into all of that, it'd be really nice to hear a bit about you and about where you're from and a bit about your life and being in South Africa, because like I haven't been to South Africa, but obviously I know things from the television and from reading books, but maybe bring some of that in. It'd be really interesting.
South Africa. Yeah, there's such a misconception. People think we've got like lions, and sometimes we've got monkeys or baboons coming through, depending on where you live. But it's the jungle, it's Africa, and it's really quite normal, actually. Once you come and visit, you'll see it's quite normal.
I bet you get better weather though.
We do. It's funny because I'm actually from Cape Town, so that's the bottom end sort of, and the weather is very different there. It's coastal. So I've moved to Johannesburg, and it's very strange here because we have thunderstorms and we've got rain, but it's hot, so it's not cold. It's just different parts have different weather, and it's quite fun. But I like where I'm at right now.
So what's the temperature today?
That I don't know. I actually haven't checked each year. Checked the temperature. I pretty much, I think I just got up and sort of fell out of bed. I've had such a busy weekend with ceremony, with ritual.
Yeah.
So okay. I just got out of bed and I was like, here I am, showing up. Throw on a jersey.
Well, good for you.
Thank you. What's the weather like in your end?
Well, it's been about 20 degrees Celsius today, which is a really quite warm temperature. It's been really, really cool the past month.
Yeah.
We've had a pressure system stuck over us, over this northern sort of side of Europe, where it's just raining and loads of wind. And then there's been another pressure system stuck over another part of Europe where they're having loads of fires, and the sun is just blazing, and these we're suffering from like extreme weather symptoms. And once again everybody's saying, oh, there really is a climate crisis, and it's like, yes. Yes, there is.
You know what, the only reason why I know is because I've been connected to certain people in Europe, but they don't report on those things here. I didn't even know about the fires in Greece and things like that. It's not on the news.
Yeah.
We're at.
Yeah. I know we get certain things as well, but the news is very targeted somehow, and yeah. I don't mean that in a sort of a conspiracy theory kind of way, but it just, people seem to be interested in certain things, and so that's what they report. And yeah, it's amazing what you miss. You sort of think you'd know it, but you don't.
Yeah, it's like a different planet.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's been nice. It's been a bit warmer today anyway, and next week's looking a bit better. So yeah, I do like to talk about the weather and hear about people's climate, because it creates such a different way of life, the type of weather.
Well, we've just come through winter, and it's not my favorite season. I know I'm supposed to respect all seasons, it's the whole cyclical thing, but winter, and I'm a winter baby, and I do not like winter. I love the sun and spring and flowers, and so we're going into spring now, and I'm very excited.
Oh, that's nice. And yeah, we're just going towards autumn now. I'm like, oh no, because in Scandinavia, the especially Denmark, it's very grey in the winter, and there's just a lot of greyness, and it's like you really, really need to light candles. And I've taken up winter bathing. I go swimming in the fjord just to sort of.
Really?
Yeah, because it is. I know. I mean, I am the last. People have been so shocked. I am the last person anybody thought would douse herself in like freezing cold water. But it's so enlivening. It shocks your body into like switching on all its systems. And it also gives you this big flood of chemicals because your body thinks it's pain, the cold water. So it gives you all these sort of like calming hormones and stuff. And it's lovely. I mean, honestly, if you're the sort of person that likes a buzz, winter bathing, definitely, you know, all the people listening, definitely try it.
Oh my goodness, I should have given that a go. I should have given that a go. I heard about that. I think it was Wim Hof. I think he's the guy that do those kind of things on men's retreats, and I thought that was absolutely ridiculous. I couldn't imagine.
Oh, me too. Me too. I went because a friend of mine, she's been doing it for years, and you know, she's in a winter bathing club where they go in the freezing cold water and then they get in the sauna. And and that, unfortunately for me, that's got full now. But actually, I don't mind. I actually quite like going and not really having too many people around, like early in the morning. I don't really want to talk to people anyway. So.
That would be me.
Oh dear. So, I mean, you were born and grown up in South Africa? Tell us a bit about your story.
My story. This is actually So I'm actually born in South Africa. Not entirely Cape Town. It's a little town. I always call it a ditch. So it's a town called Caledon, and they've got this amazing spring water there. But it's like the epitome of your little, you know, off-grid sort of town. There's really nothing happening. Everything was natural. Where I grew up, we didn't have electricity. We didn't have hot water. We would go and get firewood. I grew up with my gran, so brother and I grew up with my gran and my uncles, and that's where everything started with regards to the herbs, because she did everything naturally. So we got ill, she wouldn't go to the pharmacy, she wouldn't do anything like that. She would just get her herbs, grow her herbs. She'll make some sort of weird tasting something. It tasted vile. It was absolutely horrible, but it was amazing. And so I learned all these natural things from her, and she even had crystals. She had tarot cards, but we were very Christian. You know, we actually grew up. My grandpa was a pastor, and so she would teach me these little things. You know, while growing up, I had her for about 18 years, and I call her Granny Witch. So she still comes to me in spirit, and I think there was a part of, after she passed, that sort of pushed that away because I missed her that much, and I didn't want to connect with that aspect of myself because it's just too much like Granny. I miss her so much. But yeah, that has now, I've moved to Johannesburg, and that aspect of myself sort of came back. Actually, during lockdown, funny enough, we had a lockdown in March 2020. Yeah. And it was supposed to be for a month. So I have a normal job. I call it the muggle job. Anyone watching Harry Potter would know this. So it's muggle job, and we got a break. So I got a break from this job at my engineering company, at the engineering company. And that's when I really got to spend time with myself and read all these books that I ever wanted to read. I had on hand. And I started working with herbs and reconnecting with crystals and just really connecting with my inner cycles and what's happening, taking the time, stillness. And so that's pretty much where Kitchen Witchcrafts was born. It just sort of sprouted from there. So that was the start.
That's lovely. And like an ancestral line there, going back to Granny Witch and who knows how many generations before her.
Yeah, so we sort of go with that because it's a bit like Practical Magic. It was one of my favorite movies, actually. I feel like doing the work, working with the herbs and the plant spirits and with nature, I realize now connects me with her even more. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because she lives through those things.
Yeah, but I totally understand what you mean about the not being able to connect with her for some time, because my mum died when I was 26, and it was just such a big just so awful for me, and it was so painful that she wasn't here anymore, that I just couldn't, even though, like, because I really connected with her after she passed, and I did rituals and things to sort of help her pass over. But then I just couldn't connect with it. It was just so painful to me that I couldn't do it. And, I would listen to people, spiritual people talking on television or reading books, or people that I knew saying, oh yes, well, I talk to Fred, every day. He's like, he's still here. And I thought, oh, I've really missed something, because I can't do this. I just, it was just, but I think everything has its cycle, doesn't it? As we're talking about cycles, everything has its cycle, because for one reason or another, I'm not sure why, I felt my mother coming closer recently. And that's been really nice. And that's after, so what, I'm 51 now, and she died when I was 26. But it wasn't like that when my dad passed. When he passed, it wasn't that many years, when there he was one day. It's like, oh, hi, Dad. But yeah, my mum, I'm sure there's more there for me to discover, but I'm sure other people have these experiences as well. One relative might come straight back in, but another one doesn't, or takes a lot longer, or
I think you're actually onto something, because Granny sort of came through strongly during that period, but my mom passed away of cancer 2019, so that was December. And it was, I don't know what it was about her passing that sort of opened up the connection with my gran as well. It's the strangest thing, but it's like the pathway was now open in a way. I don't know how to describe it other than that, but so yeah, it shifted the energies around, and it just sort of, now it's this matriarchal line, I think. Where the energies coming through.
Yeah. But that's it. I think, people dying that are part of a family system, that's so much more metaphysically profound than what we realise, perhaps, because I have noticed, like, when my dad died, I could feel that he took sort of a chunk of stuff with him, like, I don't want to say negative karma or use those sort of words, but there was a chunk of that belonged to our family that wasn't there anymore. It didn't all go, because I felt a little bit come back to me, and now I'm having to work with it, because I think we're all having to work with this stuff, aren't we, in the ancestral line. But the other thing I was thinking about when you were saying that is that I started working with runes after I moved to Denmark, and I got really, really interested in that kind of Scandinavian way of working with things, and I've done some like Nordic shamanism courses, but I started working really intensely with people's surnames, like spelling their names out in runes, and then you work with like the energy of each letter. And what was happening with spiritual type people is that their ancestral line, the energy of it was just like opening up to them, and they could feel like all their ancestors and like the support, and it was incredible. I didn't expect it, they didn't expect it, but it's like it opened up those doorways, and it was like, oh wow, we all come from lines of people like us.
Yes, that's beautiful. I've actually never heard of that. Runes are very powerful.
They are. I love them.
I actually just, when you were speaking now, I thought, oh my gosh, okay, I think I know what happened. I think that when someone passes on, my granny was witchy. Mom, not at all. She denied that completely. And she passed on. And I think when they pass on, it sort of everything, all their potentials and their gifts come down to the next, I think. So that may be something to ponder.
Yeah, because that was another thing, that because I sort of, when I started the spiritual path, I was very detached from like the physical side of things. in a way, and like family, and it was all about soul, you know. I thought everything came from the soul, and then the longer I've worked, I've realized that it's a combination of the two. But I've been amazed how much of the gifts and stuff come from your ancestral line. I never really believed that, you know, for some reason I just didn't. But now I've experienced it. It's like, oh yeah, no, it does. Comes down through our bloodlines, and we're so much more supported than we realize, you know, by those bloodlines. So was Granny Witch married to the pastor?
She was. Grandpa. I've got my my grandparents are Mary and Joseph, and we always had a bit of a giggle at that one. So I actually grew up in the church, and it's actually still very dear to me. I've got so many memories of my grandpa's church. That's you know, Sundays we would spend Sundays there, and it was a family thing. And now, funny enough, I'm also now working with Magdalene energies, rose medicine, very strongly, and it's now also sort of weaving together this journey, and I'm understanding a little bit more about why I'm on this path. So yeah.
Did he know? Did he know she was Granny Witch?
He did not know. He did not know, because she had certain items that I knew was there, and that she would never pull out when he was around. And after she passed away, she left me a few things, and she's like, okay, you know, go into this magical chest, and that's where I found everything. And I was so confused, and I thought, what? It's next to Granny's Bible. She also left me her Bible, by the way. So yeah. Granny was a very interesting character. She obviously walked the middle path very well.
Yeah, I love that. I love that story. But yeah, God, that must have been a huge shock for you.
It was, but yet, you know, it was the first time I was actually exposed to crystals. I don't know what age I was. I think I was 18, 19. And actually tarot cards and an actual deck. And it was this old deck. I don't know. Still today, I wouldn't be able to find it. It looked French or something. So I don't know where that came from. I guess I'd have to contact Granny in spirit realm and actually ask her, where did you get this? Where did you get this really old dream dictionary? Where did you get all of these things? But yeah, now being on the path, I now see the deeper meaning in what they held.
Yeah, exactly. So you were saying about, like, during the corona time, what happened? What was your process, like your awakening process? What kind of started it off?
My awakening, besides the fact that it was that I had the time to actually check out of it, because we couldn't go anywhere. We literally were stuck. I don't know if it worked the same way with you guys, but we couldn't leave. So we couldn't leave. We were supposed to be in for 21 days and if you get arrested if you go out and all that. So it was just wherever you are in that space with whatever you have, and it's sitting with yourself. And I actually found it incredibly liberating. But the plant spirit came through, or spirits came through very strongly. I've got a partner who is on the shamanic path. And so we decided we would do a soma ceremony. So this is the first and only time I've ever had that kind of medicine. And in the medicine, these women came through, all these old medicine women. I feel like my gran was there as well, my mom. And they kept showing me the plants, and they kept saying to me that you need to work with the medicine, and the medicine must work, and you are the medicine. And I just saw these herbs and these flowers and nature, mother, Pachamama. And after I couldn't forget that. I could not forget their voices. And I feel like I still hear their voices when I work with every herb that I work with. They're there. Their energy is it's embedded in my soul, in my heart.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. How old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
36.
Okay.
36.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder how many other sort of, people in their 20s and 30s have had a similar thing happening because of the corona time and, having had that space and
Not very many. I mean, when I went back to work, I actually didn't want to. They said to me, come back 1st of June, just before my birthday. And I was like, no, please, can you just give me 3 more months? It's, and other people would say to me, oh my gosh, I went crazy. I couldn't do it. For me, it was a gift. It was
Yeah.
the most amazing
Yeah.
time for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. But I bet out of if you took people in their 20s and 30s that are sensitives that perhaps hadn't had something trigger it before, I bet there was quite a lot of people that kind of something happened to them during that time. I mean, because for me, what sort of started everything off was when my mum died when I was 26.
Yeah.
Before that, I was completely closed-minded. I was such a skeptical person. I wouldn't have touched a tarot card with a barge pole. I was so anti anything like that. And when my mum died, it just completely kind of blew my energy, my aura open, and I could sense her around, and I could feel all the energy and the angels, and I was like, oh, and I just finished my training as a psychiatric nurse.
Oh, good.
I was like, okay. But because it was my mum and I loved my mum so much, I couldn't deny it. I couldn't just go, oh no, none of it, because I loved her too much. So I had to sort of stay with the experience. And then, since that time, I've never looked back, really. It's I've just gone from, but, there are often these, big events that happen that kind of blow people open one way or the other. But I mean, for us here, I mean, yeah, things closed down very early. It was sort of February here where we closed down, but we have an autistic son who's 8, and my husband teaches university. And so he had to come home and teach in the room behind me. Benji's school closed down for 2 months, and luckily it opened after that. But basically we were all here, all trying to work and do school, and I was so busy. I was, there was all this kind of people use this time for rest, and I was just like, oh God, I wish I could. I wish I would have loved that. I would have really loved to sort of a few months off, but it was like, no, we were on crazy time here. So but I mean, that's okay.
Life. I feel like I'm on crazy time all the time, actually, as well.
Yeah.
So I know,
yeah. But with your job, is it something you can go part-time with, or?
So what I actually, the funny thing is, I had my coming out party. I call it my coming out party because I launched this witch. I came out of the broom closet, actually, in the time, when I was orphan, and I would put these statuses up and I'd put everything on my social media, and my bosses would see this because they're pretty open. And I came out, got to work, and they were like, oh, I see you've become a witch. I thought I was always a witch. I just didn't tell you. And they were like, okay, all good, cool. But I've got a pretty easy, I'm pretty blessed because the nature of I can do my things. I can perform my functions, my duties, accounts, and see to people, and they're pretty chill. And so I even post and blog while I'm at work. So I'll be sitting, I'll get my stuff done, and it's pretty relaxed. So I'll do whatever I need to do, or chat to my groups, or attend to my other things. And I feel like it's definitely a blessing. So I'm still earning money with a stable, let's say stable, Monday to Friday, sort of 9 to 5. But then I do my part-time things as well. When I come, I do it at home. I do it on weekends. Pretty much always working.
I'm sure this is a transition time for you, and it's great that you can actually juggle both. But I'm sure it won't have to stay like that forever. But I love your Instagram feed. That's where I came across you. And what's the name of your Instagram feed for everyone?
So I've got Kitchenwitchcrafts, so they'll find it at Kitchenwitchcrafts. But I've also got, so you'll see a lot of things on there about the little ceremonies I do, the rituals and the spaces that I hold, which, you know, there are quite a few, and the medicine that I'm working with. And I've also got a label called Potions and Pathways. So that's where I make magical therapy. And that was also the byproduct of the Kitchenwitchcraft. So it was a blog, then it became a podcast, and then it became actual herbal products.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That sounds lovely. So if you were to give us an example of something, what would you want to tell us about?
Of a magical therapy product?
Yeah.
Okay. So damn. I've got, what did I launch first? I've got different kinds of oils. I have something called liquid magic that, because, you know, you can program water, and water is like life force. It's so nourishing. So I've got a couple of products that we do with flowers. So it's flower essence. And I've got, like, one of my favorites is self-love essence. It is made with the rose. And it is absolutely, I take that every day. I've got inner child essence, and I've got shadow work essence. And those, I think, are probably like my little passion babies. I just love them because you consume them daily, and they've got this amazing ability to just activate these things that need healing, that need to be brought into homeostasis within yourself. And it's the most beautiful thing. I've now got people reaching out to me suddenly because they're now doing the inner work, and they're wanting to explore, you know, what is self-love, what is inner child work, what is shadow work. And these herbs, or rather the liquid magic, is supportive of your journey. Yeah.
That sounds lovely. And yeah, you mentioned at the beginning that where you were born, there was a spring.
Yes, water. And I've been working with water. I'm an air sign. I'm primarily fire, and everyone knows this because I have this fire energy. So I want to transmute everything, and I love fire. I want to burn. But I started my cacao journey with Ix Cacao in January this year, and everything about cacao was water. And I struggled with her at the beginning because it just really took me into my emotions and flowing, and just learning to settle more into my divine feminine. So yeah, water is a very very special element to me at the moment.
Yeah, I love springs as well. The town where I live in Denmark, in Roskilde, we've got there's about 8 springs you can go to publicly. There's more than that in the town. They're in people's gardens. So it's just like we're really, really blessed with sacred springs. And I just, it's, you know, it's just amazing and magical. I just love springs.
Well, I think I need to come and visit you. Magical springs. Who knows what will spring forth from it?
I wrote a guide, actually. I wrote a guide because when I first came here from the UK, that's all I did for the first year was just go around sort of talking to these springs. And I wrote a guide, and that was, I don't know, 5 years ago now. And next week I'm going to give, or the week after, I'm going to give my first public talk on it in Denmark.
Yes. That is exciting.
Yeah. I got a friend coming to translate for me. I can speak Danish, but only at a fairly simple level. Like to talk about something complicated, I would really struggle. I would really struggle for words. So I'm really hoping that she doesn't get sick on the day.
It'll be fine. You speak one language?
Sorry?
You speak one language?
Well, English.
English, and you don't, and you sort of a little bit of
yeah. I mean, I can have an everyday conversation in Danish, but to get into anything specialist and to know all the words, then I start to struggle. So everyday level is fine. You know, weather, dinner, going shopping, that kind of stuff. But then, yeah, anything specialist, and it like I just get completely lost.
I understand this.
Yeah.
We've got, well, obviously we've got like so many languages, but another one is Afrikaans. So I don't know if you know Afrikaans, which is a little Dutch.
Yeah.
It sounds a little bit like Dutch. And I can also have that everyday conversation, but I can't, the higher grade, I cannot do that.
Yeah.
I get you. I feel you.
Yeah. Actually, there was a lady who spoke Afrikaans in my language school when I was learning Danish, and she learned so fast. So, because the Dutch, and also there was a lady from the Netherlands, and she also learned Danish really fast. So there's quite a lot of overlap. So you might do quite well with Danish.
Probably. I'm also trying to learn Spanish, but that's mostly because my daughter, I've got a 5-year-old, and she decided that she needs to learn Spanish. Wow. So we're learning Spanish together, and we're not doing very well.
Well, some people love learning languages, and me, I don't know. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to learn a language.
Yeah. But very interesting. But they say there's a certain age that, it's better when they do it young.
Yes, exactly. But my best teacher now is my 8-year-old, our 8-year-old Benji, because he can correct me without sort of sounding, there's no edges to what he says. He's just telling me because I'm saying it wrong, and I can sort of take it from him. Whereas like if my husband tries to tell me, it doesn't work out so well.
So he's quite a straightforward. My little one as well. She's quite blunt. She's an Aries. So she says it like it is. And you've kind of just got to take the burn. So yeah, I get that.
But yeah, I'm a fire sign as well. I'm a Leo. I just had my birthday.
You've got Leo hair.
Yes, I know.
You've got the mane, which is beautiful.
Someone told me that. I went and lived at Findhorn for a while. It's a spiritual community in Scotland. And someone asked me what my birth sign was. I said, oh, it's a Leo. And they went, I was thinking that because of your hair. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, oh, haven't you noticed that Leos have like a Leo mane? And she said, that guy over there is a Leo. And I looked over and he had the similar sort of like yeah, and I was like, I was like, oh my God, fancy that. That's amazing. And it does seem to be true.
So you should come and see the lions because you might connect very well with that feline energy.
Yeah. Oh my word. But yeah, but again, I love the water. I love the water. I love going in the fjord because it de-stresses me swimming in that water.
Yeah. Might have been an Atlantean.
Well, I do think perhaps I was a mermaid.
Yes, I'm in target. You make a beautiful mermaid.
So your work at the moment, what are you really focusing on with your work, and where do you want it to take you, I guess?
With regards to the spiritual work, people always ask me that, and they go, what do you with work? And I'm like, which one? Because I've got the muggle, I've got the magical, and I've got the mundane. But with regards to the Kitchenwitchcrafts and what I'm doing right now is I'm coming up with some new products. I'm always doing my magic, and my magic is now sort of combined with cacao. So I still do my herbalism in combination with the cacao, and we're using rose. I'm using a lot of rose medicine. I've now come online recently after a really, really hard time, really, really bad time actually in my life. And I've started working with the Sophia Code, or working through the Sophia Code. So I've come into rose medicine a lot and the unfolding, and I'm now going into working with women and with the womb and the feminine mysteries. And so I'm combining my magical therapy and my herbalism with healing for women, working on the womb and womb work.
I can really feel that as you talk about it. And yeah, I've seen posts of yours with the rose energy on there, and it's really beautiful. It's a really beautiful energy. I can really feel that. so strong. It's lovely.
It's come through, yes, I've become very well acquainted with the Marys. So we've become firm friends, and they've assisted me with the unfolding and with peeling back the layers within myself, also so that I can help other people to return to that purity. But it has been the most beautiful journey. And I keep flowers, I keep roses in my house every week. See this medicine, be this medicine. I put rose medicine in my cacao. And looking at where I started and where I'm going to now, there's always been such a pull for women's work towards the womb and that healing, because I feel like it's really necessary at this time. So yeah, I'm coming into my element, and it's definitely the rose. It's definitely the medicine.
Yeah, and I mean, I love all this womb work because, like, yeah, for me, like growing up in the time where I did, no one ever suggested that my womb could be something other than just, I don't know, you had a baby in it and then there was loads of problems with it. You know? It's like, yeah. And to have it reframed in the way it has been reframed with the womb work is like, that's been lovely. That's really nice.
Yeah, because that's our cauldron. I tell women this all the time. It's your cauldron. This is where you manifest and where you cook. So it's a power center. And I'm also consciously cycling. So I do the conscious cycling with tuning into what's happening in my womb space when I cycle and when I bleed. And yeah, I'm definitely, that's it's become part of me. And I really want other women to experience this as well, to feel that unfolding within themselves.
Do you hear much? I mean, I'm just sort of moving from, you know, one phase of the womb to the other because I'm going through menopause now, and I'm sure there's lots of stuff out there about that. But how does the womb magic work when you're not bleeding anymore?
You're going into crone. So you become, no, this sounds bad. People don't like it when let's say wise woman. I prefer to say wise woman because that's the next phase. And you can still tune into your womb, I believe, even if you don't have a womb, even if you are not bleeding anymore. I think then you would probably watch the cycles of the moon, because you won't be having a period, you won't be bleeding, but to still tune into your heart space and to follow the cycles of what's happening, you know, the lunar cycles every week.
I just something came back to me then that I'd forgotten, but I remember reading somewhere, and they said that, you know, because there's so much power in like the menstrual blood, so when you stop bleeding, you're like keeping all that power in your womb and having it in your body, and you use it in another way. I'd forgotten that. That's just come back to me. But yeah, I mean, I'm quite happy to use the word crone. I love it. I want to kind of reclaim that word as our positive power. And power. Yeah, exactly, because I think that's one of the big things that the world has lost is women with years of experience who have something to say but got silenced because of the history of witch burnings and, you know, women like not being allowed to speak, you know, and it's time for us to get back into, because like I definitely feel it now. I don't need to please anybody anymore.
Yes.
I have that need to just sort of be a bit of an old hag.
I see that happens with age, and I'm actually like, I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to get into my crone, into my wise woman. And most people would be like, what? You want to age, you know, stop wanting to. It's not that. It's just with what comes with it. But I also understand I'm a mother at the moment. Sometimes I still go to maiden because I've still got inner child issues that come up. That's my maiden. You know, I'm working through that. But age-wise, I'm in mother. And I've got so much respect for these women. I feel like, I don't know if you know about the red tent. You must know about the red tent.
Yes, I do. Yeah. And I know there's a silver tent as well for more grey head.
There's a silver. I did not know about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the red tent, I mean, just imagine like being able to sit in a circle. And this is what I'm trying to do now with I call it Wumbala. So I'm starting Wumbala. It's a women's circle. And I want to get women of all ages into these circles to share this wisdom, the womb wisdom with each other. It's really important because some of us don't have grands anymore, and we don't have mums, and it just needs to be a space for women to be able to share.
Yeah, exactly. And I love sacred circles of women. I really do. It's really special.
It is so empowering.
Going back to your family, do you know much about your family roots and where your family's from? I'm just curious.
No, my grandfather was Dutch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was Dutch. My I don't know that much about. I know how she grew up. So she had a bit of a Cinderella story where she had stepsisters and a stepbrother, I think. And she had a different dad, and she was always sort of treated like an outcast, made to do the housework, couldn't go to school. It was literally Cinderella. And she told me once that she wanted to actually commit suicide at 13 because she couldn't deal with it. They didn't treat her very well. She didn't know her dad. And one day my grandfather came home with her brother, and that's pretty much she whisked her off and happily ever after sort of thing. But I don't really know much about her, where she came from. I don't really know much about that line. Even grandpa, not very much. And now in hindsight, I'm like, maybe I should do one of those DNA things, or what are they called?
Yeah. I did one. I did two, actually. I did one 2 years ago and one a year ago, because you get ones that focus more on this thing or ones that focus more on that thing. And I just had I think it's because I moved to Denmark and I'm, not sort of surrounded by British people anymore. And it just made me kind of want to know, where am I from? Because the same as you, like my parents, they didn't talk that much about stuff. And there were stories and there was rumours and I had sort of some ideas. But one interesting thing that I found out from doing this is you take 50% DNA off each parent.
Yeah.
So there's 50% of their physical DNA that you don't get. Isn't that interesting?
What?
So it's a real lottery. It's a real lottery, like which bits of them you get. But mine came out as, I think, about 30% Irish, 20% Scottish, and I think, yeah, it was not quite right, but yeah, 49% English. So I'm a little bit more Scottish and Irish than I am English, and I quite like that.
I quite like that too. I think that's amazing. Well, I need to do. Yeah, I actually would be very interested. I think I should. It came up for me recently, and probably a message from Spirit saying, "Look, maybe look into that."
Yeah. What was really interesting was they could actually pinpoint counties and islands that my DNA was from, and also some places in England as well. And the places and islands were, of course, places where there'd been real terrible poverty and people had to leave because, during the potato famines, there was no food. And I have so many relatives like in America and Australia and New Zealand, more than in Ireland, unless perhaps people in Ireland maybe don't do these DNA things so much. But I think it was just because there was just such a massive outpouring of people from these areas. But I've definitely, been working with a lot of stuff over the years around poverty and fear that the world's a really bad place, and kind of all of those sort of emotions that you can imagine might come from the trauma of like all of your kids dying because there's not enough food and stuff like that. I've been working with this stuff for years and years and years, and then when I saw it sort of actually on the map, I was like, oh wow, just heart blessings to those people and family line. And yeah, it's another way of understanding your story. It's really interesting.
I love that. Understanding your story. Actually, I wanted to ask you, like, what changed for you when you found out, and now that makes a lot of sense. So it probably would be eye-opening for me as well, because there are things that I'm working with too, and where did that come from? So that would probably explain a lot.
Yeah, I know. I mean, there's sort of people who will say, "Oh, don't let anybody have your DNA, and you don't know what they're going to do with it." And but oh dear, I just bless it and hope for the best. But I think it really kind of echoes our healing work we're doing with our ancestral lines. This people looking up their DNA. It's like, yeah, because
there's a big.
Sorry, go on.
Oh, no, I just was thinking there's a huge emphasis on ancestral healing this year.
Absolutely. The last few years, it's just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But no, I was going to say, because I have a half brother who I didn't grow up with and didn't know about until I was older. And that's from my dad's first marriage. But I wrote to him because I have found that chanting like my ancestors' names that I know about, the surnames in runes, is a really powerful way of doing healing. And I didn't know my grand's maiden name. So I wrote to him because I know that he had quite a close relationship with her. And I said, I'm doing some ancestral work or exploration. I can't remember what word I used, but it was a very, ambiguous word. And he wrote back and he told me he was the only person that would have known without me having to sort of search church records or something. And he said, when you find out stuff from the DNA test, let me know. He just assumed that I was doing DNA. And I let him keep that, because my family, my family that I have grown up with, they know all about me and all the rest of it. But he's a very, very straight guy, and we don't know each other that well, so I wouldn't go there just yet.
Just yet, yeah. Just discernment.
Oh dear, but yeah, I can really feel like the energy of like your family. That's why I was kind of curious about it. I can really feel the energy of them. The lady who's teaching me the Nordic shamanism, she's actually Dutch.
She's Dutch.
Yeah.
What feeling do you get from that? Yeah, I've actually got my boss is Dutch. One of my bosses is Dutch, and
I actually lived in Holland for a while.
I've never been, so maybe I should actually go as well to sort of be in that energy, because I heard it's very good for this kind of ancestral work to go and visit the places.
Yeah, absolutely. Because although that's what I've found, like when I've traveled to places, it's like, although there's been a lot of time maybe in between when you were there the last time, like as a soul or whatever, when you're there physically, it's like that's so much more powerful than the time difference. It's like the time never happened, and it's like such a strong connection.
Yes, it's like a quantum link, I think, that just sort of fits, puts you right back, or connects you.
Yeah.
And I've got a friend going to France, because she's also now been working with the Sophia Code, and her family are from France. And so she's very deeply connected in, and she cannot wait to go to France, because she said, I know when I get there, it's going to activate something within me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, it will. No, I was just thinking something then. It's just completely gone out of my. Oh, I know what I was going to ask you. Are there some tips that you'd like to give to our listeners? Some easy things that they can do in their everyday life that you practice in your spirituality and can suggest?
It's when you asked me that, or when you sent me the write-up, I was like, yes, yes, because this is what I do. My motto, everyone knows this, is making magic in everyday life. Everyone who knows me, and I try to put it out there, it's just making magic in everyday life. Life is a ceremony, and you are your own sacred space. And so obviously what I do when I wake up, it's cacao. For me, cacao connects me very strongly with the mother energy, with the goddess, with the Magdalene. And so I have cacao every day. Like every morning I'll have cacao. In the evening I'll have cacao. And I mindfully will have it. And it doesn't have to be cacao. It can be your herbal, anything, your tea, just to put that intention in for your day, and your gratitude at the end of the day or in the beginning of the day. I'm very, very diligent with those practices. At least one thing, she's got to take the time to tune in and set that intention. And then I make sacred spaces wherever I go. So I've got these little things. I'll put things in my handbag, on the go stuff. And I even put a little sacred space on my desk or where I'm sitting at the table. Just something that reminds you to connect to spirit, to be mindful, and tune out. I'm not that good at breathing, but I do try to do like conscious breathing as well. If I feel like something's just too much, or just allowing the feelings to run through me. And obviously I take my magical therapy because that's what they're there for. They're there. I'll sit, I'll spray people. They'll walk past me and they'll be like, what is that? And I'm like, it's actually sacred space spray. When I feel overloaded. And that's why I've made these products as well. Stuff you can put in your handbag and just carry with you, like little pieces of the divine. Because that's.
I love that. So there's something little to remind you to connect to spirit.
Yes. Yeah. And it helps. It really does. I promise you, I work in the most cold, but it's like a corporate environment and there's no,
Yeah.
So you have to have those little things to help you remember. Yeah. And I do like my rituals and everything that I'm trying to do now. It's like compressed little micro things because we're busy. Life is busy. Nobody can take half an hour to an hour to do a ritual. So you want a ritual on the go, and that's what I do. And so I try to incorporate that in my life because I'm a mom too. And, mornings are busy. So I take 5 to 10 minutes in the morning to woosah. Yeah. And that's all you need.
Yeah.
If that's all you've got.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate what you're saying because it's always been exactly the same for me as well because there's always been so many things to juggle and I think that's women, isn't it? We're good at multitasking and we're practical as well. So like
we're very practical, but we have to make it a habit. It's got to be a normal thing. It's like brushing your teeth, and the more you do it, I think they said it takes 21 days to, is it 21, 28?
Yeah, 21 days. Yeah, that's what I do. Until I've got the habit of it, I write up Post-it notes and put them around. And then once it's become a habit, then I don't need my Post-it notes anymore.
I do that too. Yeah, it helps. Or little reminders or something just to get it going. And then it becomes second nature.
Yeah, because if I don't do that, I just forget. And then I start something else, It's like...
But it's interesting that when you do it enough, when you forget to do it, you can feel the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, thank you for those. That's really lovely. But our time's drawing to a close now. But before we finish, is there any things that we haven't got to that you wanted to tell us about, or any last things you wanted to say?
No, I'm actually looking. I made little notes. I normally don't make, but I thought I need to make a little note. So I made little notes, and I'm thinking, what did we not cover? But I feel like everything that we spoke about was what was intended, that needed to be covered. And who knows, we could probably do another one.
Oh, yes. I always say that to people. There's always so much more to talk about, isn't there? And, of course, like if there's anything particular that you want to tell people about, you're always welcome to contact me and say, can I come on? And, because we want to hear each other, and we love to hear people who are talking about their passion.
Yeah.
And I can hear how passionate you are about your work, and you're carrying a lovely energy, beautiful ancestral line you've got going on there.
Thank you. Just thank you for having me. Thank you for having me in the space.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So I hope everyone's enjoyed listening to us today, having our chat across the globe.
Yeah.
And come along to Facebook and look on the Sacred You podcast page and drop us a line, or have a look on my Instagram page where I put this podcast, and that's rachelgoodwin.dk. And also, if there's other people that you know that you'd love to hear interviewed, drop me a line about that as well, because I love doing this. I love talking to all these lovely people, and there's so much inspiration that we get from each other, and we're just constantly reminding us of these divine truths, and it's just so much support and help for each other. So lots of blessings to everyone. Bye for now.
Auheia valeana oe e kahaliko puakukui. Kuhia o kaunaia a kahapu ke momoni nei. Hiko I kahimanao I kahapili ko haloa ia. Ia ke kaula lo piana e kopu kapalili ai. Haina mai kapuana e kahaliko puakukui. Auheia valeana oe e kahaliko puakukui. Kuhia o kaunaia a kahapu kumomoni nei. Piko I kahimanao I kahapili ko holua ia. Ia ke kaula lo piana e kopu kapalili ai. Haina mai kapuana e kahaliko puakukui. Auheia valeana oe e kahaliko puakukui. Kuhia o kaunaia a kahapu ke momoni nei. Hiko I kahimanao I kahapili ko aloha ia. Ia ke kaula lo piana e kopu kapalili ai. Haina mai kapuana e kahaliko puakukui. He noa no na ka ui.